Hi there. Welcome to the start of a new week. For the 4th of May, I've chosen this little idea. Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. And that was Marcel Proust. And here, my good friends, is our writer for this month, who I'm pleased to say she's keeping things pretty short, actually, so I kind of like that. And here it is, called What If? This is Reverend Christine. First quote is from Henry David Thoreau, who says, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see." It's kind of the same thing as listening. There's hearing sounds and there's actually listening to people. The latter, when it's active listening, it's pretty good. And what you see, it's kind of interesting because on our daily walks with one of our neighbors, we come around the corner and then we look in the distance, and there are actually two searchlights that are focused on a building. I don't see them because I don't go around there at night. But from a distance, they really look like crows or ravens. It's kind of amazing. They're black, and the shape of them just looks like that. And of course, it's also what we see with our imaginations, right? And Ernest Holmes says, more practically, he says, turn entirely from the condition or the limited situation to its opposite, that is, to the realization of health, happiness, or harmony. And he's telling us to do that in prayer. New Thoughts has often been accused of ignoring things like poverty and so on. But that's not what Ernest Holmes said. As I've said on quite a few occasions, Ernest Holmes said, you look a discordant or unpleasant fact right in the face, but in prayer you turn away from it and you focus on what it is that you want. So you don't deny the existence of poverty, but what you do is you turn away from it when you're in prayer and you focus on the opposite, which is plenty. So there we are. And that actually is from the Science of Mind textbook on page 186. And this, my friends, is Reverend Christine again. Reverend Christine Green, actually. During a phone call, my friend shared her anxiety about an upcoming trip and the 4-hour plane ride. I'm laughing, I'll tell you why later. I couldn't stop laughing when I read this the first time. She listed all the problems she experiences with flying. Yep. An overcrowded plane, no meal, flight connections, lost luggage, her anxiety was high. I can imagine lots of people just experienced that this past weekend with Spirit Airlines, shutting down completely and stranding not only passengers but also flight crew. And then about 17,000 people lost their jobs. So right now and there've been a lot of incidents recently with planes. So it is pretty easy to focus on the negative. But the other side of it is that there are millions of flights in a year and very few problems in relation to the flights. And then she says, I asked her if we could transform her fear of what ifs into faith. I invited her to visualize that her experience was not going to be like it had been in the past. Instead, it will be an uplifting experience. I invited her to shift away from her deepest fear to possibility. What if your body feels comfortable in the seat? What if you have wonderful seat partners who are kind and courteous? What if your flight is on time and your luggage arrives with you? What if everyone you meet is friendly and helpful? I reminded her that I would be in prayer and knowing a wonderful trip for her. Then she goes on to say, we train our brains to put attention on what we don't want instead of what we do want. We must use conscious intention to pivot away from the worst case scenario to imagine the best. Ernest Holmes reminds us, the more power you give to your thought, the more completely you believe that you have that power and that that thought has power, the more power it will have. Our best practice is to entertain our highest thoughts. And she finishes by saying, my friend returned and shared about her wonderful trip. People were friendly. Her flight was on time. And she had all she needed. And even after some challenges getting to the airport, she stayed centered and calm. Everything worked out, and she had a great trip. Prayer was answered. I think it's a human condition, to focus on the negative, to wait till the other shoe drops, So we've got to train ourselves to look for the possible, look for what's good. And it takes practice because, believe me, lots of these creepy thoughts come back in, and then your mind goes back to worrying. And then when you remember, you go back to the positive, and you keep doing that until you train your mind to focus more on the positive than on the other. So there we are. The affirmation we get is, all I need today is provided with infinite love. All I need today is provided with infinite love. So I hope you like these short readings. As I said, I'm an engineer. I believe in Occam's razor. The simplest solution is usually the best. So that's me. So, and as I said, even though I'm a minister, I can be brief. So until next time, namaste.